Firstly, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here today to speak. I'm really grateful to get that opportunity to tell you our story and how we started out at Yolk. I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. I did say to the guys, I'm really good in a conversational piece, but to get up here and try and tell my own story for half an hour, I might stumble, so bear with me. I think what I want to get out of, I want you to take away from today is that some key little sort of nuggets of gold that we've created over the time. I don't proclaim to know everything about hospitality. We've failed a lot. But at the moment, you know, we're in a very fortunate position with the businesses that we have, and they run very well, and they're quite successful, which is awesome. Like you did mention before, we have 5 businesses in our group, and a 6th, which is the catering business. You do get to taste some of that catering food today, which will be on time. So anyway, a bit about me personally. I've been in hospitality for pretty much all my life. I started out at a terrible cafe that I own with my parents called the Leaping Lizard Cafe. For those of you who lived in or live in Melbourne, it's out in Brimbank Park in a park environment. I started my journey there. From there, I went on to work in bars, nightclubs, private members clubs. I ran hatted restaurants. And then fortunately enough today, we're in the position to own our 6 businesses. We have over 80 staff and all under management. Why am I here? They've asked me to come here to talk about my why. If you come to any of our venues, they're all different. I hate doing the same thing. I hate the cookie cutter method. I'm a bit different to Shay. He has a product that he sells and it replicates that product and it's the same everywhere. For me, I always want to challenge myself and I want to do something very, very different. I want to challenge the people that work for me and I want to feel challenged. And to do that, every venue that we opened, I wanted to open something very, very different. And I like to think when you come to our venues, you feel that, you know. We are one large group and we have some very set systems and procedures, but the feeling and the concept in those spaces is all very, very different. So to maybe better understand that, I have to tell you about my first cafe that I got to own, which is Terra Twilight in Collingwood. Actually, I'm going to go back. I might run you through our venues as such. So we have Terra Twilight, which is in Collingwood. Around the corner we have Hi-Fi, which is a sandwich window or takeaway shop. Behind that we have a very large catering kitchen. We have another venue in Northcote, very close to here, called Tinker. Down the road from there in Westgarth, we have another business called Ophelia. And then in Moonee Ponds, we have a monster of a cafe called Convoy. Fortunately, this year, 2 of those are rewarded the best cafes in Melbourne, which is fantastic. We're on the front of the Age paper. Bit of a shock to me, thank you. Awards are beautiful and they are a bit of a validation for what, you know, your hard work and everything, but they're not the be-all and the end-all to business. A great little story about Terra Twilight. When it first opened under the previous owner, we won Cafe of the Year with Time Out Awards. A year later, we were bust and broke. So the business failed. So I started there. I started working with the previous owners. Once again, started a great concept, maybe a little bit ahead of its time for Collingwood. Collingwood in Melbourne is a very tricky area. You really got to win customers over and get them to understand what you're doing, and they become very loyal. But at the time when we did Terra Twilight, no one really understood the concept. From what I believe today, it didn't have a really good foundation. It was sort of just thrown together quickly. We opened the doors quickly. No one really understood the concept or the idea, as in the customer and the people that worked for us. Lo and behold, we end up bust in a year. So I had the opportunity to take that business over and start to do things my own way. I was kind of doing things my own way when I was working there. But once it's your own, as you would all know, when you're on your own business, you can do things however you want. So I started just investing a lot of time into our customers. I set out a goal to start with that we wanted to be over the top friendly. So what does that mean? If you came to Collingwood, 5 years ago at the moment, you would walk into a space and you would feel like you didn't belong there. They'd give you very standoff service, you'd feel very transactional. So I said to the staff that worked for me, I was like, okay, we're going to go over the top. We're going to take it to the extreme. Now, kind of worked because we got a Google review saying, these guys are so friendly, they'll waltz you to the table. When I read it, I was like, oh, that's disgusting. But I'm like, okay, cool, we're reaching that thing. We were doing some great food, okay? The concept of Terra Twilight was, food-wise, we wanted to let you, the customer, dictate to us how you order and what you order. Now, we're all in hospitality. That is a big no-no. You don't let people dictate to you what you do in your business. Me being me, I was like, fuck it, sorry. Let's let them do that. Now, what we did is we wanted to, at that time in my life, I was quite focused on eating very healthily. So we wanted to create a space that was health-ish. I still wanted to have the concept of cafe food, that you would get around Melbourne, but also I wanted to have healthy styles of food. So we came up with these bowls and broths concepts. So you can build your own bowl. There was a choice of 3 bases, a choice of veg, a choice of protein, and then a dressing. So you could come visit us 5 times throughout the week and eat 5 different meals on 5 different occasions. I had multiple chefs say, can't do it. No, not going to work. This will never work. I still remember this one guy. His name's Chris. He doesn't live in the country anymore, so I can rag on him. He said to me, this concept will never work. You guys are mad. I was like, okay, I'll prove that it's going to work. Still here today. Where I'm going with this is we had to get 2 chefs that believed in that concept and that were able to help me or help us action those steps to make that profitable. We did that by bringing 2 people on. That one of those people who started with me as a sous chef recently just left after 7 years of being our executive chef. He's gone to open a pub up in Yakandanda. So anyway, we get the chefs in. I'm running the front of house, all going well. Place is really busy. Financially, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm taking money from the till. We have records. I'm buying records. I'm just doing whatever. My wife's doing the books. 6 months later, I'm back in the same position as the previous owner. It's a nightmare. So I was like, okay, what are my strengths? What am I good at? And who do I need to bring into my business to help me or help us succeed? So my current business partner, Ben, came on board. And what he helped us do is set up a financial structure that makes you, I want to use the term win every day or win every week and not go backwards. So once he started pulling apart what we were doing day to day, it was great. It was very creative. People wanted the product, but financially didn't work. Yeah, and we started seeing that on a week-to-week basis. Then we start tweaking things. We get shut down with COVID. So I was like, I actually said to him, let's close. We just threw all the food out and I didn't want to open and I wanted to wait for something to happen. What I did do and what I mentioned before is I never had the opportunity to set that business up the way I wanted to set it up. So fortunately for me, COVID was awesome. I sat in the corner of the cafe for many, many months, pretty much treating it as a reopening. We redid all our systems, we recosted all our dishes, we reworked our menu, we retrained all our staff on how we wanted to operate once we were allowed to open again. For those of you who lived in Melbourne throughout COVID, you get to open and then you shut. You just did a big sigh. Open, shut, open, shut. Anyway, for us, the trajectory was as soon as we reopened and we were allowed to stay open, we opened 2 venues within 18 months. What the benefit was of understanding the financial part to it is we set that business up for success, but we also knew how we can grow and where we could grow. In that time of running Terra Twilight, we started doing catering. So we had these around Collingwood, there's a lot of little film studios. People would ask me, can you do breakfast for us? Now, at that time, I would say yes to anything. So I'd be like, yep, make you a little breakfast box. We'd build it on the tables pre-breakfast service or pre-opening. I'd be running them out to drop to clients. We'd come back, do our breakfast service, whatever you call it, lunch. During lunch, we'd be building bowls for everyone. I'd jump back out, milk crates, run down the road, drop them off. From there too, our catering business started to grow to where now you'll get to experience it today. I hope it's very nice, but to where now it has become its own thing. It's under management. We have grown sales-wise from maybe 2 to 3 orders a day to sometimes doing $10,000 to $12,000 a day now. We have 2 vans out on the road, a team of 10 people. And it's something that I absolutely love because I built it from the ground up, you know. And along the way, at each growth point, we started adding in these little extra bits that could help us take it where it needs to go. On top of that, we built a sandwich window. So during the time that we were looking for a larger kitchen, everyone was going crazy for bread during COVID. So I was like, we did an event for a sandwich pop-up at Terra Twilight, and we were just inundated with people. It was the busiest during COVID we had ever been. So after that, I was like, okay, well, why can't we open let's do a sandwich window, you know? And we found a great little space on Smith Street. It was great because it had these lovely retractable windows where you could serve people COVID style and not, you know, have them coming into your space. I was like, if we ever get shut down again, this is a great little concept that'll help keep our catering kitchen afloat. But also, if we get shut down, at least we have an income because we can sell bread. And then Hi-Fi really became its own little concept and its own little thing. Whilst all this is going on during COVID, we also sign on a huge 145-seat cafe out in Moonee Ponds that is literally a bare shell. And we spend 18 months building a huge, huge cafe that, sucked the life out of us, you would say. That is now one of Melbourne's, you know, most iconic and a very busy space. Sorry, I've lost my notes. So some of the takeaways and some of the things that I learnt from Terra Twilight and reshaping it and the concepts that we came up with is about knowing your numbers, you know, and knowing where your business sits every day, and then how that looks on paper and how that drives your decisions. As I said to you, I was very good creatively, and I think it's probably one of my strengths. But with creativity comes the financial part, you know, whereas if you don't understand how much that dish costs or how much it's going to cost to get out, you're stuck, you know, you're sort of spinning your wheels there. So what we did is create a sheet where we understand the day-to-day operation, we're forecasting all our costs, we make sure our staff are aware of those costs. The other part is too about how I work my way out of our businesses and the way I went about it. So I used to work, or as maybe some of you do, I used to work day in and day out in the cafes. And it got to a point where I think I was 35, 36, and I'm scrubbing toilets and, you know, every day and having to close the store. And I wanted to stop doing that. So it's like, okay, well, what do I need to put in place in our space that will allow me to stop doing this? I then wanted to stop working every weekend. So it's like, okay, where does my business need to be, and where does or it need to be financially to allow me to have that freedom to do that? I then got to a point where I wanted to work on the business. So I needed to understand, what does my business need to set up, or where does my business need to be to allow me not to work on the business all the time? And through having some very clear goals and targets, and that allowed me to step out of that. An example would be financially, what income do we need to bring in to help me step out? Or what steps can we put in place that will allow me, or whoever it may be within the store, to work your way out? Another point of, I guess, me being here today is talking about how we design spaces and why and how they're different and what we do. I don't think there's any real distinct idea about creating your own space, but what I would say is create something that you love. When we opened our latest venue, Ophelia in Northcote, I wanted to create a space where you would feel like it was your home, you know. So it was warm and inviting. The food that we offered, you felt very comfortable eating. I love records and vinyl, so we put this huge record wall in. We needed to create a space that would transform from day into evening. And, sorry, I'm losing my way again. Have something that made you feel really comfortable and homely. Yeah. And then I think too, I know I'm not being very clear today, but having a very clear vision and an understanding of what your venue is about, that also translates onto your staff. So the clearer that I can be with the vision of what each of our business holds, the clearer your staff can be and give you the ability to help sell the product and help sell the vision and the dream to the customers that come in. And also I think too, I'm very sort of stubborn in the way that I like to do things, and I really believe in what we're doing and how we're going about it. And I don't let sort of other things deter me from that vision, you know. And I think if you hold something, a belief and a view of how your businesses are, you should stick to that, you know, and not be deterred by outside noise or outside influences that may turn you away from what your traditional belief was. Now, in saying that, in one of our businesses, we started with a concept that we believed was amazing, and we wanted to challenge ourselves, and we were at this spot. Totally didn't work. So we were having to now put changes in place and move with the market to help us succeed. We're talking about that financial piece. Had we not had the steps that we have in place, we wouldn't know that week on week that we are losing money. It's the first time it's ever sort of happened within our group, but it's also a very good lesson to learn that not all concepts are going to work, you know what I mean? And what you think the market may want and what you're reading doesn't always translate, you know. And also don't let your ego get in the way of things, you know. Ego can really deter you and make you sort of stick your head in the sand and be like, great, I'm gonna trade out of this, I'll be fine, as you're going more backwards and backwards and backwards. So I think you've heard me sort of talk about it a lot, but there's the creative, but then there's the number side. And I wanted to ask you all a question. If you had to close your business tomorrow, shut the doors, would you honestly know who you would need to pay? Would all your staff be paid? Would you know what was left over in the bank? And would you feel comfortable about doing that? So maybe I could get a show of hands. Sorry?
I'd do it on the day before BAS was due.
Yeah. So I think a thing about us feeling comfortable as a group and at Yolk, if you turned around to me tomorrow and said you wanted to buy our business, I could give you an honest rundown or an honest sale of where everything is at, you know. And that makes me feel very comfortable. If I had to shut the doors tomorrow at our latest venue, I would know exactly what we owe the taxman, all our staff are paid, all our suppliers are paid, and where that business sits logistically. Back to my original story, I thought I was succeeding by doing this creative stuff and had all this money coming in, but I wasn't doing this other part. And what I realised is once you got this other part, being the financial thing, it really dictates a lot of what you can do and can't do in your business. We would all know here as well, this industry is getting harder and harder. Yeah, everyone hates that dirty word of profit. We're all here to make a profit. We have to live and survive, but we're getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed for costs. Everyone also says hospitality is getting harder. I don't think, or it's changing. I don't think hospitality is harder. I think the parameters and the base of what we work under is becoming harder. I've read some of your questions that were put out before, and staffing is an issue. The taxman, the rules we're governed under, i.e. wages and some of the costs that we have to pay, those are the things that are getting harder. But the day-to-day ability for us to give great service in great spaces and do that, I think is still amazing, especially in Melbourne. There's such a culture for it. But I would encourage you there is a system out there that allows you to understand the day-to-day workings of your business. And from my experience, once those things are in place, and once you start to educate your team, which is another thing that I learned, once your team understands where you're at and you're very honest and we share figures with everyone, not with all our management teams, we're very transparent about that. They get to see them daily and they get to see them weekly, and then we round them up and give them last week's results. That then helps us drive that business in the direction that it needs to go. We don't make knee-jerk decisions on things that we think are going to work or may not work, because it's all data-driven. And I think that also helps us understand why we do what we do. As I said to you before with our latest venue that isn't working, we've broken it down. We're like, okay, well, the customers literally don't want what we're putting out anymore. So we need to change. And what is it? And how do we change without affecting our sort of core concept there? The other part is, I guess, is another thing that I wanted to ask is how many of you feel sort of trapped in your own business, I guess? Feel that you can't get out, feel that you can't switch off, feel that you can't get away from your own business? No one feels trapped? Okay, you guys get up here and tell me. No? No? You feel comfortable? Yeah. Okay.
I agree there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
10 years ago, the answer would be
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I think, yes, maybe it's just me personally, but you can get very obsessed with your own hospitality business, you know what I mean? And you can sweat every minor detail, and try and control it from afar. But the end result is that it never really works out, and that your staff feel micromanaged. They probably feel stunted in their growth, and it wears you out, and deters you from what you're really trying to do. As I said before, I had to put a lot of steps in place that would allow me to work out of my business and then allow me to work on it and give the best direction that I could, which is that creative part, to be able to do that. I think I just want to finish up. I hope I've given you some good info, but we're all in this hospitality industry together too, and I love what you guys at Grinders are doing by bringing everyone together and sharing information. But I also implore you not to suffer in silence either, and that if you are struggling in business and you need to lean on each other, or you are succeeding, share that knowledge with one another. I love hospitality. I genuinely really care about this industry, and I really want it to succeed. And there's probably a lot of negative press out at the moment about how hard it is. But I think if we all bandy together and come together as a united group, we can really grow and keep succeeding as it should be. So thank you.